welcome to another tutorial. This time we are going to tackle some NMM or non-metallic metal. In this video I'm going to show you how to paint some warm steel or warm silver and some brass for this trophy on Abidon the Spoiler. For those that would like to see a short video on how I do the skulls, I might release that one pretty soon as well. 4 human skulls and 1 tyrannid skull, I tried to make a difference in the color of the bone palette, so if you are interested why and how I did this, stay tuned, I will upload it very soon. Once I recorded some voiceovers. I did some research about, bones in general and why they differ from color. But don't worry about that yet, I did the research for you and I will explain. To start off the video, I owe you an apology for not having the wet palette on screen again, and as well in the skull video I won't have one, but because it's the same story as my previous video, this was already recorded without the palette. The next video that I will release is a video about OSL. On that video I will show you the wet palette. The first part is already uploaded, which was the fire tutorial. If you haven't checked it out yet on my channel, feel free to do so. In that video I show you how to paint fire realistically without the use of fluo paints. So the OSL video will include a wet palette, I promise you that, and also from there on there will always be a wet palette on screen, because a lot of people like to watch that part. The palette I'll be using for the steel or silver is Skavenbright Dinge, which is a dark warm grey, Baneblade Brown, which is a nice warm brown, and Ulthuan Grey, which is quite a cold grey, but you'll see in the end it balances out really nicely and it will create this warm tone overall. The brush I'm using in this video is the same as mostly Abteilung 502 topline size number 1. We are starting off with base coating the Skavenbright Dinge, and we're gonna apply these layers carefully. It's a small area to work with and quite a few details on it as well. Same as usual, we start with 2 drops of water into our paint and we start applying the paint on the lowest part of the metal, because that will be the brightest area. Leave the higher parts dark and even black to create contrast. If you would make the top part too bright, the golden Horus Eye that I will be adding on it wouldn't be really visible. The steel part we are doing right now isn't a flat surface, so we're going to have to brighten up these dents in the metal and create a dark edge below those dents to create a reflection, but you will see in a few minutes. The spikes, only paint the top side of the spikes at the moment, because they will be exposed to the light, and of course edge highlight wherever you can. Now we're gonna start adding some Baneblade Brown to Skavenbright Dinge and repeat what we just brightened up. This is what I meant with the metal isn't a flat surface. Here you can see the metal has a few dents in it. Try to paint these dents on the lower half until that very tiny edge. Below that edge, keep it dark. This is how you create that strong contrast and it will look like reflection in the end. So again, edge highlighting wherever you can. In this case, left and right of the metal with the spikes on its side. And make sure your edge highlights are very thin applied as well, because it can go 2 ways. It could make an item or an object more reflective because of its shiny edges, but there always is that but. If your edge highlight is too thick applied, you can also kill your reflection. So my advice here is make sure your brush has a fine tip, test it on your hand with low pressure on the brush, go over the edge. There shouldn't be a lot of paint on your brush to do these effects. Same as the base coat, before we apply this layer, also in the lower parts of the metal, and try to stay inside your previous layer and just repeat until you are happy with the result so far. The colors I'm using on my brush will be seen on screen as always, just because I can't show you a wet palette. So this might be a good way to follow along while I'm explaining things. So every time the color on my brush changes, you will notice it right away. And if you really pay attention, you can see it when I test it on my hand before I apply. Once you have brightened up these parts, we go back to Skavenbright Dinge and make it more of a glaze. So we're gonna add one more drop of water to it, as we already had 2 drops of water to the paint. 3 drops of water will make it more transparent. Remember, try to glaze from bright to dark, because we are using a darker color than our previous layer, which was the mix of Skavenbright Dinge and Baneblade Brown. The difficult part here is how can we make this part interesting, because we cannot keep it black either. So while we are glazing with the Skavenbright Dinge, I would suggest to glaze around the Horus Eyes as well, to get it some, hue of gray. The Horus Eye itself is on top of the steel, so how are we going to solve this? I'm gonna show you 2 pictures. I know it's a small area to work with, but we have to try and get some paint around the eye as well. So here in the first picture I'm showing you, you can all clearly see we got some darker and brighter areas around the eye, but we have to make sure we keep the top area darker and the area close to the Horus Eye brighter. The red spots, you can see these are darker shaded areas. The green spots on the second photo are the parts that need to be brighter. Like I said, very small areas to work with, but don't be afraid to glaze back and forth with Baneblade Brown and Skavenbright Dinge. Like I said before, it's a small area to work with, so a fine tip on the brush is most likely required. Of course, these spikes on the trophy also need some attention, and I'm going to do them in the same warm steel look, because the horizontal part is in part 2 of the video in a few minutes, and it's going to be brass. Contrast is important, so we gotta keep the shades dark. At the moment we are working with pure Baneblade Brown. It's a nice warm brown. We gotta start with layer consistency and edge highlight. At this point we are not doing a lot of brush strokes anymore because the area is getting really small, so we gotta rely more on stippling and tiny scratches. So what does this mean? The pressure on your brush is everything, and also a fine tip. Just map out the areas that you want to become bright. After that we add some water to it again, make it transparent, and that's how we make our transition. Most important thing now is to map out the bright areas. After that you can refine things however you want it, and remember, edge highlight is important for that shine. When you add more water to the paint, you have to remember nothing is lost as long as you keep your paint thin. I can't say this enough. Grab some paint, wipe it off, because we're adjusting things in a very small area, so there shouldn't be a lot of paint on your brush, just enough to stipple a few edges and dots, and dot up a few, dot up some brightness, repeat a few times wherever you feel this is needed. Let the tip of the brush do the absorption and don't plunge your brush into paint. This is also a reason why you always test your paint. We are starting to add some Ulthuan Grey to the Baneblade Brown. As said before, this is a colder gray, but it will balance out nicely in the end. The important part of once you are going higher in brightness is that you mostly stay inside your previous layers, so you can really see the buildup from dark to bright. We first apply this as a layer consistency, which is 2 parts of water, 1 part of paint. Edge highlight, brush strokes are getting smaller and smaller, so remember, stipple, scratch, fine tip on the brush is important. Same thing as before. Once we are happy with this stage, we add a bit more water to the paint and we can glaze to make a better transition. I'll talk a bit about the model when we are applying some layers of Baneblade Brown and refine things as we go. Abidon the spoiler, wasn't really a fan of him, but that doesn't make him less interesting. He's not to be underestimated, especially not when wielding Drachnian. And maybe I will do this more frequent while painting a miniature, because I can't be talking all the time on how do you do certain parts. You just have to do it, and I can rather show you, So who is Abidon really? He is the War Master of Chaos, the former first captain of the Black Legion. He's the most powerful War Master of all, successor to Horus, and blessed by all 4 Chaos Gods. Despite being blessed, Abidon refuses giving himself fully over to the ruinous powers of the demon Primarchs have, as this would limit his existence beyond the Eye of Terror and push his ultimate vengeance against the Imperium beyond his grasp. Abidon thinks Horus is a fool for giving himself to the ruinous powers of the Chaos Gods, and also for not achieving victory on Terra. Abidon believes there are other ways to gain an insane amount of power without being controlled by the Chaos Gods. You also have to think it like this: Chaos Gods can give you blessings and grant you power, but they can always take it back very easily, which I think is one of the reasons Abidon doesn't really trust or fully commit to the ruinous powers just yet. The sword he wields is the name of a powerful demon. The birth of Drachnian happened when the first human murder on its own kind. This single act of evil was the original seed that would grow into one of the most powerful self-aware entities in the warp. For every life taken by human hands, every word of hatred spoken in the ears of the dying, every thought of killing another to willingly further one's own goals made the demon stronger. Eventually, the demon wanted to kill the Emperor of Mankind, but that didn't work out so well. Not going too far into this, but all you need to know is the Emperor forced Drachnian to adopt into a new form, which was a fine sword. It has the power to cut through matter as a mundane blade that moves through smoke. All its souls captured, devoured by the blade can be seen on it. Why is Abidon the only one that can wield it? We don't know this for sure, but everyone else that would try to take the weapon, the blade would fall through their hands as if the weapon is made out of air. And oh yeah, it also would tear you apart with warp energy for trying. So yeah, this weapon is apparently a Primarch level killing weapon, and it can only be wielded by Abidon, the Despoiler. Well, how strong is Abidon? We are not sure yet how strong he is. We do know he has grown far more powerful than just a normal Space Marine, for example. He has beaten Sigismund in a duel, Celestine and a Gemini, Marnius Calgar. I mean, there are quite a few on the list that he has beaten, and people can argue, well, Sigismund was very old and a lot slower than he used to be. That is true, but it's still Sigismund. Marnius Calgar, we saw the dude is Space Marine too. He is a massive guy with 2 power fists, and he got floored by Abidon. I'm talking about 3 punches, I think. He is also responsible for destroying Cadia, literally throwing a Blackstone fortress onto the planet. Like I said, he is an interesting character, and he mostly gets what he wants. Hate him or love him, Chaos Legions aren't my favorite legions, but Abidon is one of those characters that are just very interesting. Is he able to kill a Primarch? Abidon himself cannot. However, with his blessings, and especially the sword, he might be a good fight for, let's say, Guilliman. The Lion isn't really concerned about Abidon, because at the moment, the only 2 Primarchs that are back in the setting are Guilliman and the Lion. Like I said, the Lion came back from his walk in the forest for 10,000 years. He got updated about what was going on, and he wasn't really concerned about what he was hearing on Abidon. This was the short version of Abidon the Despoiler, and I can't wait to see where they are going with him in the future. This model is super fun to paint, that's for sure. It's a very nice commission, so I can't really spend golden demon hours on it to the model, but I guess with these videos I can still show you how to bring these models to a decent level of appearance, because I got a few more of Abidon coming up. For example, the leather cloak, and then the skulls on the trophy. So, going back a little bit to the, painting. This is basically it for the steel part. I explained how to brighten these areas up, how to darken these areas, what your consistencies should be, the colors. The only thing you need to do now is practice along the way, like I am doing. It's still far from perfect, I know, but I think it's all about learning together. Not sure this is the way. I'm just showing you a way. The way I do it, it helped me, so it could help you to grow. Feel free to check out my other videos on the channel. I got quite a few videos coming up. The Fire OSL, of course. The Sister Bust Part 2 is on the way for the silver trims and black leather glove. I'm also gonna release the skull tutorial and a leather tutorial video. The skull tutorial was actually quite a fun research, to be honest, why they differ in color and stuff, but don't worry about that yet. And I'm also thinking of releasing a video on how to approach painting your first miniature. So I'll be asking the community, the Discord, to post their first painted miniatures, so I can show them throughout the video and maybe as a beginner learn from these minis. I got a lot incoming, as you can see, but the voiceovers and editing are taking its time. This isn't my day job, unfortunately. So we gotta do what we gotta do with the time I have. I'm gonna keep adding Ulthuan Grey into the Baneblade Brown until we are happy with its brightness. So I'll be going back and forth over here to smooth things out and get a better transition on these small areas. Till we start the other part of the video, which will be the brass part. So I will see you in a few minutes. here I made a small mistake. Consistency was a little bit off and I ran into the recess. No panic, just clean your brush quickly, wipe it off and just go over it again with a clean brush and water. After a few strokes you will see it will disappear just as quickly. So no panic, it happens. in my next videos I will also adding a bit more lore and knowledge, as I said before. So we know we know what we are painting, and sometimes lore and knowledge gives you that one bright idea nobody has ever done before, and it's, you know, lore knowledge accurate, so it can inspire people. That's how I see it. Anyway, we are now moving on to the brass part of the model. For the brass part, we are going to use black, Rhinox Hide, olive green, Bala Brown, and ice yellow. They will all appear on screen as usual. As soon as I switch paints, it will switch on screen. We start with mixing Rhinox Hide and olive green, 50-50, and we are going to add 20% black to it. This will get you a dark green color to start as your base. Apply this on the areas you want it to be bright. Again, we are mapping out, so 2 parts of water, 1 part of paint, and layer up. Keep the shades dark and untouched for now. Just map out with the dark green. On this area, there is a lot more to edge highlight, so make sure to grab those along when painting it. The Horus Eye, I also decided to do the bolts on the lower parts of the metal, the steel, which I will do in brass now. The Horus Eye, not an easy part. Try to paint the upper side of the eye edges. It's gonna be hard to get a cool non-metallic effect, but we're gonna try anyway. We are going to have to rely on edge highlighting effects this time because the area is too small to make a transition in the thickness of the eye. So in this case, we have to work with the length of the symbol. Once we have applied our first layer, we can start applying a more transparent glaze to it by adding a drop of water to the mix and glaze from dark to, you know, the color that is on your brush. It might need a few glazes. Just make sure you get some dark areas for contrast. And since we got these helmets and skulls on these spikes, we can use these to our advantage, as those areas below the helmets and heads can be shaded. So once this is all done, we can move on to the olive green, so we can really, you know, start brightening things up. And we're just gonna repeat the same thing. First we go edge highlighting and map out stuff in layer consistency, and then we are adding water to the olive green, and we're just gonna, you know, do some glazes. memory card was full, so I had to replace the memory card, but we have started applying the Bala Brown now to brighten up the desired areas. Again, same thing as before, layer consistency, start with edge highlighting, map out your bright areas, take your time as these areas are getting smaller and smaller. So remember, stippling scratches also help to get a better transition. Also wanted to talk a little bit about the trophy. The client wanted a blood angel on the base, as there is a marine under Abidon's feet, and he wanted a lieutenant's helmet on the trophy. So let's try that one out. I did not record the helmet, I'm sorry. I only recorded the skulls, which will be uploaded as soon as I did the voiceover. And it should be in 1 or 2 weeks as usual. I try to upload 2 or 3 videos each month with tutorials or painting guides in general. So yeah, sorry, no helmet, but that will include in a next video when I will paint a Space Marine. In the next few weeks, you will also see a video pop up on my channel, which will be a feedback video about Xenos. I have got a Discord challenge going on since January the 1st, and this challenge is about Xenos. Our first challenge was in 2024, and it was about loyal Space Marine chapters. It was an amazing challenge, had lots of fun. Many people joined it, as we were close on having 40 Marines. So yeah, the photos can all be found on my website if you want to check it out. I got a page on my website dedicated to the community events where we have quizzes and such as these challenges. Feel free to check it out. The link will be down below. So yeah, I can't wait to see what people are coming up with. I have seen a lot of works in progress already, and I can tell you right now there are quite a few Tau and Elder people in the challenge. I did not expect that, but we'll see. Stay tuned for that one, as I will upload it, the feedback video for those that wants feedback to their model, of course. The challenge ends on February 1st. So if you want to join in, you still can. You don't have to start a new project. It can be a work in progress project or a recently finished one. How to join, down below. I will link the Discord. So yeah, feel free to jump in, join in on the fun, and have a chance to win on some cool prizes as well, such as a Kill Team box to your choice, a brush set of the brushes I paint with, which is Abteilung 502 topline, and last but not least, a paint set of a random paint set. So that's that. The next challenge, it will start in March, which is about 75mm printed models. The challenge is about Dungeons and Dragons. I'm gonna ask everybody to paint their character, their role in the game, which is, I don't know, a druid, a mage, a barbarian, a bard, a warrior, a hunter, ranger, warlock, priest, paladin, just to name a few. Go wild and be proud. But I will get more into that on the later date, because this will be a much bigger challenge. I might get someone else in there to get some nice feedback to the people. But yeah, more on that on a later date. We go back a little bit to the painting. We are still building up, as you can see, and we are starting to add some ice yellow to the Bala Brown. Same as before, mapping out, edge highlighting, stipple, and fine scratches, because the areas are, of course, getting smaller and smaller. Edge highlighting is also becoming more and more precise, So less and less pressure on the brush and keep dotting the brightest areas to build up that shine. In the end, we pick out one of the reflective areas on the trophy, and we make that one our brightest, our main light. This way we make sure the focus is on that side you want to show your piece. Placement is everything, and this is how it reads like metal when you do it right. It's also one of the negative things when you're doing this in subassembly. The light placement could be off sometimes, and some parts just because you did them separate. And the solution for that one is in one of my previous videos, of course, where I show you how to add volumes to a model in an easy way, so you know exactly where to be for your light placement. Make sure to check that out as well. It's on my channel, so you'll get rid of this annoyance. For the Horus Eye itself, it's basically edge highlighting. So we are doing this with the tip of the brush very carefully. Remember what I said in the still part of the video? Make sure you are edge highlighting with very low pressure on your brush. Well, most videos or tutorials, I hear them say you should edge highlight with the side of your brush and just follow, the edges with the belly of the brush. Or I mean, I think it's just a bit more than that. The pressure really matters, and I would say we are not talking about the side of the belly on the brush. It's really more to the tip of the brush. And this is where you actually control the pressure. Not with the belly, but with the tip. In one of my previous videos, I explained what you all need to paint miniature, and brushes is one of the subjects in there. And I will also explain what you need to look for on a good brush, so feel free to check that out as well. So a good tip always helps. And here we are at the end of the video. We are basically stippling the last few highlights on there to get that shine. And I'm gonna wrap the video up over here. I hope you enjoyed the video, but more importantly, I hope you learned a thing or two. Stay tuned for more, as a lot more is incoming, but the editing and the voiceover are taking its time. This isn't my full day job, unfortunately, so we have to do what we gotta do. I will keep you guys posted on YouTube, Discord, Instagram, TikTok, and all that jazz. Feel free to follow me on any of those and stay updated. Thanks all for watching. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. And if you got a topic that you want me to cover in a video, feel free to comment down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Lots of video in the pipeline with a wet palette, I promise. So be patient and I will provide what you hopefully need to grow in this hobby. I'm still growing in this hobby, and it's a long journey to become a professional miniature painter, and you can join me on my journey and we can make it our journey. Thanks and bye-bye.